Good morning to everybody. I know we're not that many people in the room, but there are several people who have already joined us online, okay? So, today we're having one of the most important sessions in this Energy Dialogue Conference because we are really approaching the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter, as many of you know, as we move towards decarbonization and cleaner forms of energy, is storage. Electricity grids, networks, and of course the whole chain of events is based on innovation, continuous innovation and improvement. So we have a very well-selected panel of people who have been working for many years, each one in her own area of work. We start with Dr. Kambouris, who until recently he was head of networks at ADMIE, is that right? IPTO, the independent transmission operator, and now he heads the regional network center, which we are going to visit this afternoon. Then we have Professor Vesta Borzen from the Kyrillos and Methodios University in Skopje. She's a partner of IENE, well known for her work in the electricity sector. Mustafa Tiris, who is one of the old hands in Turkey on renewables. He has followed the development of renewables over the last 15, 20 years and more, and he's familiar with all facets of this tremendous race which we're viewing now in Turkey on renewables development. And we have Mrs. Stella Zacharia, who is head of energy and policy regulations. She's going to join us online from Terna Energy. Terna Energy is one of the renewable pioneers in Greece with several gigawatts installed capacity. And Mr. Zissimos Mantas, who is among us, is from Motor Oil. Motor Oil is another big industrial energy company in Greece who have moved lately into renewables, but they're doing very well, and you listen their strategic approach in this matter. So we have a convergence of interests from several players, including industry, including traditional oil gas firms now moving into renewables. And we have some of the pioneers with us today who have been following this. And of course, the heart of the matter, which are the networks. And we're starting with the networks, with the grid, because without grid and without networks, we have no electricity and no renewables. So, John Kambouris, you have the floor.
I'll go to the panel.
Right,
it's
okay.
Better for everybody. So, good morning, everybody. Many thanks to Mr. Stambolis and IENE for inviting us here to present some crucial issue on what is coming next in Europe. I will focus on what is happening at the regional level in Europe, because I think that now we're in a real transition and now we are facing the most dense period of innovations and transitions. So just to remind and to remember everybody that for more than 2 or 3 decades, there is a very stable energy policy in the European Union that is promoting 2 things mainly. One is the renewables, the other one is the integration of an internal market to the benefit of all consumers in the continent. Of course, you know better than me maybe the targets that have been set from time to time. Now we have new targets, but what I want to focus on is that we need more interconnectivity among the countries in Europe in order to integrate the market and enhance security. What is the new thing that came into the picture? The major thing is the vast development of renewables, so that now have a lot of intermittent generation that is really hard to control, and also have a lot and bulk power exchanges among the countries. That means that we need to be very, very careful and have to make much more operations in the networks than we had to do in the past. Actually, all this integration has come out of a very careful legislative process that came first with the first package. We had the regulators, we have the independent system operators and so on. Second package, the third package that was recently, let me say, concluded, led to two very important tasks. The one is that the markets in Europe are now coupled also, but also we started thinking very, very carefully how we can enhance security for the future because we face all these challenges I just mentioned. But now we started to apply the new legislation, which is the Clean Energy Package, as you know, that calls for further developments and innovations. So just at a glance to see what are the major legislation bases that we are building on. This is the common allocation of capacity and capacity management in the interconnectors. Interconnectors is have to play a very crucial role in this integration. The system operation guidelines. First time there is a parliament decision, a regulation actually how to operate the transmission systems, and also the emergency restoration in case of large disturbance. Based on that, we have developed a lot of methodologies. I don't list them all here because it will take some hours. Just at a glance again to see how the electricity market operates in Europe. First, we have to calculate the capacity of the interconnectors among the TSOs, to allocate them to the players. Then we have the day-ahead market that is dealt by the NEMOs, actually power exchanges, an intraday market, but also, and the most important from a technical point of view, the balancing market that is crucial for security. And of course, this is operated by the TSOs. What was actually the target? The target is to use the cheapest generation across the continent to the benefit of all consumers. So in case that we had, let's say, infinite capacity between the countries, of course, what we expected to see is a unique price all around the continent, especially on the wholesale. Why it does not happen? Because the capacity of the interconnectors between the systems is, of course, limited. But now we have reached to the target that we solve the market using a pan-European algorithm, so everybody has the same methodology to approach the market. By 2021, all markets are coupled. That means that all markets follow this pan-European model. And of course, a major prerequisite in order to do that is to know exactly how much is the available capacity, transmission capacity among the TSOs, among the systems. Just to see this picture here and see that you see here in Europe, actually, we have a lot of what we call capacity calculation regions. Just to explain a little bit. If you see here, you see that we have, for example, the interconnectors between the British Islands and the continent. This is, this is one point of congestion, yeah? So you see here what we call capacity calculation regions is the regions that have congestion between them. That means that in some hours we cannot transfer the cheapest energy that can be produced by the generators. So we call it a bidding zone. For example, Italy, oh no, it's wrong. For example, UK is a bidding zone because we don't face major congestions within this, yeah? But if you couple British with the continent, then you have congestion in here. So we put what we say bidding zones when in cases that we have no congestions, and actually we have to calculate the capacity among the different bidding zones. So the ACER has recognized these bidding zones that you can see in the map. And one major issue is to calculate accurately what is the capacity among them. Of course, we have common methodologies for that, and we have to estimate that in order to facilitate the market in a yearly, monthly, and daily basis. Another major development, what came with the third package, is the development of the regional security coordinators. What is the idea behind? We know that we have a lot of transfers, we have a lot of renewables that are not controlled, so we face a lot of, how to say, unpredicted circumstances in the everyday operation. So that calls for a regional cooperation for security, in order to enhance security, and we have established actually in Europe 6 regional security coordinators, and you see here in this map how we develop that. We have Corezo, that takes care of this region here. We have the TSCnet, which takes care of the dark blue area here. We have the SEEE in Belgrade, that takes care of the WB6, actually the West Balkan 4 countries that are not within the EU. And we have Selen, that is our coordination center here, that covers actually 2 capacity regions. One is Bulgaria, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, and the other is Greece, Italy. So within Selen, we have, I'll show you in the next slide, we have to deal with the biggest part of Italy and Greece, Bulgaria, and Romania. So we developed these 6 centers in Europe. Of course, we have another one, which is the Baltics, but not synchronously connected to the European network, and also have the Scandinavian region that has another RSC. So I like this slide to tell you, to see at a glance what is the state of play now in Europe. So under SEEE, we have 5 synchronous areas. The big one is the continental Europe, of course. We have 11 capacity calculation regions that connect the different bidding zones, and 6 regional coordination centers. Actually, this is the basic structure under we operate the system technically, but also the market in Europe. So, what is the role of the regional coordinators in Europe? Actually, these companies are mandatory to be established by the legislation, and of course they are owned by TSOs, and they provide services to the TSOs. We speak about these 5 services. First one is to make a common model. It's very important that every day all TSOs send their best prediction for the model of their system for every hour of the next day and the day after. So we merge all them together in order to have a common view of what is coming next day. It's very important. Of course, if you ask me, it's sure that what we model will not happen. Yeah, nobody is a prophet, but it's very important that all refer to the same picture. The second and very, very important in security analysis, we apply all rules for security analysis for every hour for the day after. Also, we calculate the transmission capacities between the systems. We make calculations to see the adequacy of the transmission system to cope with the transfers, and also we coordinate the outage planning, maintenance actually, in order, for example, when we have some lines that establish a corridor, for example, from Romania to Greece, all the lines that are included in this corridor to be maintained at the same period in order not to lose. In order not to lose this for many time. And now we develop the last service, which is to coordinate the emergencies in case we have large disturbances, and also to coordinate the restoration of the systems in order to do it fast. So some words about our coordination center here in Thessaloniki, which is called SELEN. We cover, as you see here, two capacity calculation regions. One is this one, we call it Southeast Europe. The other one is the Greece, Italy. So actually within SELEN, we service these three countries and 6 out of the 7 bidding zones of Italy. The company established in 2020, and the shareholders are these 4 companies, for the TSOs of the countries of these 4 countries. Shares, we equally share the company in terms of shares, 5% each. For the moment, we are rather few, just 16, 17 employees, but we are developing every year. The good thing is that we have really very skilled engineers here in order to cope with our tasks. Okay. So how we get here, it was not easy, actually. We are in a very peculiar region. We are surrounded by TSOs that are not in EU, so they don't follow exactly the same legislation, the same rules, etc. This is a problem. We'll comment already for that. After long negotiation, you see the happy faces after coming to the final decision and agreement to establish this in Thessaloniki. So some words, what is coming next? Now we have to develop what we are called to do by the 4th package, the clean energy package, and the regional coordination centers will be, transited to some other entities called regional coordination centers that we have to produce more services to the TSOs. The idea behind is that we see that the RSEs actually brought a real improvement in security, and now we go further in order to use innovative algorithms and methodologies to further develop and enhance security. So we add 11 new services, and also there is a very important structural change in Europe that we introduce what we call system operation regions, and I'll show you at a glance what that means. So in Europe, Acer has recognized 2 system operation regions. We have it here. One is what we call the core, which is the big part of the continent. One is the Iberian, which is, this should be also Amper, Portugal and Spain, weakly connected with France. And the other one is the Southeast. You see some holes here, which is the non-EU countries that are not actually included in this process.
Okay.
Just 1 more minute to speak a little bit about the regional specificities that we have in Southeast. In Southeast, we have some peculiar, let's say, or specific situations that we have a very sparse network. The interconnectivity is low, rather low, but the major problem is that we have a lot of non-EU countries that do not follow the same legislation as we do in Europe. So for the time being, we have launched a lot of activities and initiatives in order to discuss with these countries, and this happens under what we call the Energy Community Organization, that we're trying to get all of them together and try to step together and apply at least the basic legislation in order to collaborate better. And just to see, I will not list them, what are the new services, but the only thing I want to comment is that what we are doing now is to try to optimize and share reserves in order to have a better balance in the system. This is very important, very complicated, but we are operating on that. So, to conclude, under this environment that we are living here, because of the vast penetration of renewables and the exchanges, it's very crucial to have this regional cooperation in order to enhance, to guarantee security. We coupled all the markets, and this is a very good step. We have a lot to do under the clean energy package, and I think the most important that we are called, especially for the Southeast region, is to try to apply the same rules that are applied in Europe. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. So please, Yanis, thank you very much. Stay there in case there are some questions. Other questions from the floor? Well, I think we had a very clear account of how the new electricity environment in Europe and in a region in particular is shaping. The need for very clearly defined bidding zones. I think this is the main message. And once you have established the bidding zone environment, then you can develop further the connectivity, exactly, the facilitation of companies, and so forth. So it's a very important, how we say, a very important development time-wise and organization-wise, this new bidding zones. And it will definitely, as you quietly rightly mentioned at the end, facilitate, or is necessary in order to facilitate the growing input of renewables, right? So it's you have to be able to supervise and the activity, which is now becoming more stochastic, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So the splitting down in various bidding zones supports this and helps, of course, the development of the environment. Any questions? If not,
and if you allow me just one word,
yes,
is something that I think is very, very important and does not take so much care and so much people have no information on that, but it's really crucial how we operate in Europe.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll have the opportunity to come back if there are any questions. So thank you once again, John, for a very clear presentation, very helpful. And now we move to Vesta Borzen. Professor Borzen has been working on electricity for many years. She's a great supporter of Vienna. We have had the opportunity to have her in Athens and also here. And she is really following up what's happening not only in North Macedonia, but in the region. So, Vesna, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stamboulis, and thank you for the invitation to talk today. This time I will speak for the last time, actually, about the Crossbow project, which the team of 24 partners was working for 4.5 years. So in April this year, we just completed the project, and I will try briefly to summarize the findings on technical and regulatory impact of Crossbow products. The scope of the project and the goal of the project can be the best explained with his long title, which reads Cross-Border Management of Variable Renewable Energies and Storage Units, Enabling a Transnational Wholesale Market. So, sorry, I'm... for the length of the project, we succeeded to develop 9 products. It's fine. Yes, I was keeping the right way. 9 products within the Crossbow, mainly devoted on regional operation center balancing cockpit, and then different combination of cross-border exchange of production from renewables, then cross-border exchange of flexibility assets, including storage unit, large storage as hydro storage plants, and also small storage aggregated, as well as participation of demand-side management, offering flexibility assets, and so on. We also developed a project on wholesale and ancillary market tool set using the advanced blockchain technology and so on. The further step was to combine these products in so-called high-level use cases, and they were applied on the region of Southeast Europe, including both EU and non-EU countries from Southeast Europe. So to prove applicability of the products and to gain experience on for their further application. High-level use products combine usually several of these products, but are mainly devoted to one product plays a major role in each HILU. Then there was, we spent actually the last year in considering the first the barriers for application of the cross-border products, and then potential impact on the basis of encountered barriers, on impact on the technical, social, environmental, and finally regulatory impact of cross-border products. I will briefly present only the findings on regulatory impact because UKIM was in charge, my team from UKIM was in charge in preparation, doing analysis and preparing the report. We focused on the currently governing regulation in EU, which consists of directives and regulations from Clean Energy Package and some relevant network codes for this case. Briefly, these are the results of our findings. The cases were judged from no impact to significant impact, which is in red here. So what we can observe here is that Clean Energy Package actually did a lot of advancements in regulatory space of EU. By introducing new concepts. For example, the definition on storage units was introduced for the first time. Then also concepts on active participation of customers in the market and so on. However, the network codes, which are somehow belongs to third regulatory package of EU, are not still accommodated, adapted to the new regulation and of within the Clean Energy Package. Just to show the major impact will have our product on regional operation center balancing cockpit. But just for a success of this product, actually a cooperation with Selene is cooperation of two coordination centers from the region are really important, SEEE and Selene as well. but the least impact we have with the ancillary market product because even though it implemented blockchain technology is innovative, but it was prepared on the basis of the rule of CACM regulation. For the end, we recommend that the policy focus in next time should be put on harmonizing regulatory frameworks and facilitating market coupling, improving measures for mitigating cross-border capacity constraints, developing functional regional wholesale markets, developing functional regional balancing and ancillary services market, which is very important for business cases of renewables and also flexibility assets. Then system and market integration of flexible enabling technologies, enhancing the coordination between TSOs and DSOs, facilitating the creation and market participation of cooperatives, ensuring cybersecurity without deterring the use of and efficiency of novel concepts. If I have a chance later on, I can further explain these focuses.
Thank you very much, Professor Borzen. My question, I have an immediate question, is about the maturity of this project. When will it be ready to be used actually as part of the market process?
Actually, some of the products are are ready for application, but some of them are in the first kind of stage of preparation, so they need some further developments to be really.
Okay, so
let's say ancillary services market is not developed at the highest level.
Right, but some parts are already being used and employed.
Yes, actually, they've been applied in cross-border exchange of this flexibility between 2 or 3 countries from Southeast Europe, including, let's say, Greece, Bulgaria, then Western Balkan countries, and so on.
Are there any questions from the floor? If not, then please take your seat and we'll come back at the discussion. So we see how this approach in the laboratory of Professor Borzen is helping, and I think I'm following the Seleng Parusei presentation is something very relevant, okay? So now we move to our third panelist, Dr. Mustafa Tiris, mechanical electrical engineer who was heading Turkey's first renewables center when we met many years ago. Now he's in the private sector, but very dynamic, like the name of the company, T-Dynamic. So we cannot have a better person from Turkey to explain us this very fast-moving market, which is renewables in Turkey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stambolis, and for his team for organizing this conference series. For many years now, I am attending, and the importance of the renewable energy is growing during those years, not only in my country, but also worldwide. So maybe that's now the cheapest way of producing electricity. So that's our future energy atmosphere. We are producing renewable electricity. For example, in Turkey nowadays, the cheapest energy source is solar energy. The cost of 1 kilowatt hour is around 2.5 US cents to 3.5 US cents per kilowatt hour, so which is very low if you compare with the other sources of electricity, and also the market prices. And we should use this cheap and clean electricity and local source of electricity intensively. In order to do this, we have got several instruments, regulatory instruments and supporting schemes and so on. For example, we have got a hybridization process. We are providing a lot of license for hybrid projects nowadays. So we are combining solar energy mostly with wind energy, with solar with biomass, with geothermal, even with coal. So we are providing a lot of license for them. And also self-consumption is becoming very, let's say, market dominant nowadays. There are plenty of installations after this electricity price rise. A lot of industrial consumers and also some commercial consumers are installing, even households are investing on solar installations. We are planning to have 3 gigawatts of solar installations this year, we are estimating. But next year, we hope to reach to 4 gigawatts of installations, mainly will come from the own consumption part. In parallel with this, we have got a intensive electric charging unit supporting scheme in Turkey. So there is a very huge potential for that, as you can imagine. If you would like to install a charging station in Turkey, then government is giving you a right to install a storage system plus a renewable energy production unit in order to couple with this charging unit. So charging unit plus storage unit plus mostly solar energy production unit will be combined each other. So what's our aim is to use these low carbon energy sources more intensively, but we have got plenty of resources, and to increase the renewable energy in the total energy mix. And also we would like to couple it with energy storage devices to provide more reliable power supply and to guarantee the grid security, and eventually cost reduction is another aim. So we all know that we have got this figure almost in everywhere. So there is a huge increase in the solar energy. I am sure that in the coming years, we are going to have a specific session for solar energy and wind energy application under IENE. I hope in the coming 3-4 years. Maybe one day you are going to devote for these renewable energy sources. So in order to minimize this carbon related energy discussions in the coming years. So these figures are showing that the importance of solar, wind, and all these renewables are growing because of many reasons, not only for decarbonization, but also especially in this region, we have got very good potential for renewable energy resources in almost every country. So if we look at the energy storage motivation, so we know more or less all these items, so we would like to increase the power quality. by introducing energy storage systems, and we would like to increase the system reliability, and also we would like to mitigate the power variations, and also we would like to store some of the renewable energy productions if we have got an excess production. Then we can use these energy storage systems for peak shaving and energy arbitrage. So we have got many benefits for energy storage, for generation, transmission, and distribution. I don't want to go through all these issues, but what we are doing in Turkey recently, very recently, we have issued a legislation and also regulations are completed, and we have started to apply for energy storage system license applications, and some license applications are given already. And also in parallel with this, we have got a huge energy electric charging station license applications in order to support this process. And again, at the end of last year, the test procedures for energy storage systems were announced. So the content of the legislation is having 4 pillars. One of them is, in the regulation, you can see how you can integrate energy storage system to the production, and the second chapter, how can you integrate energy storage system for the consumption, and also you can have a standalone energy storage system for arbitrage and the primary frequency control, secondary frequency control, and black start, and etc. So the third pillar is standalone. And also in the fourth item, we are also giving away to the electric distribution companies to install more energy storage devices to manage the grid and to at least delay new investments for the grid. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mustafa, for a very succinct presentation on time. And of course, we saw the very interesting diagram of how the renewables are progressing in Turkey. I understand you have now reached 47, 48 gigawatt installed renewables in Turkey, including hydro.
Actually, as far as I know, now it is more than 50%, 54%, yeah, including hydro, biomass.
50 gigawatt.
Yes, because we are having more than 100 gigawatt of electric power installations.
Total.
Yes, more than 100 gigawatt. So more than 50% of this amount is coming
renewables.
from renewables. But renewable investments are growing every year. I am sure that we are going to reach more better values in the coming 5 years.
Okay. What do you believe is the biggest challenge right now in Turkey's renewables for the development of further? Is it storage? Is it the grids?
Connectivity issue is very important problem in everywhere. We should put more effort for transmission lines, distribution network, and so on, in order to minimize the negative effects. We are introducing these storage systems, storage devices, but definitely if we can put more money for the transmission lines and distribution networks, it would be very good for us in order to increase this capacity.
And one final question.
So that's valid for everywhere, by the way. Yeah.
One final question is acceptability, social acceptability.
Yeah.
that is, I think, since you have moved so fast and in such a big scale, I suspect that the social acceptability, which was very little many years ago, now has grown. Can you comment on this?
Actually, for solar energy, we have got full social acceptability because everybody is saying, seeing that their land, their dry lands, let's say, they are not using these lands, but we are using them for solar energy installations. So the price of this land is growing. So therefore, they are supporting a lot the villagers and so on. But what we have got still, we did in the past as well, the hydropower.
Yeah.
Because hydropower, there is a problem. There was a problem because we didn't plan very well this hydropower zoning issues and so on. So in order to use the optimum capacity, so therefore there are some problems in the past, and still these problems are going on. And we have got some little problems with geothermal energies, but rather than these two elements, we are okay with the social acceptability, and we don't have any problem at all.
That's very encouraging. Now let's move to our next speaker online, Mrs. Stella Zacharia. Hello, good morning, Mrs. Zacharia from Terna Energy. Terna Energy, as I said earlier, is one of the pioneering companies in Greece on renewables. They first developed large-scale wind projects 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Now they have branched out outside Greece. So please tell us all about the work you're doing in Terna.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Stambolis, for the invitation and the honor to be here today between esteemed colleagues. I would like to say first a few things about the current status in Europe, then how we see our country addressing these issues, and close with some key points and milestones from Terna Energy projects regarding the subject of this event here today. So the increased energy price volatility has already led the European Union and its members to adopt a series of mid to long-term measures and policies aimed at increasing the EU energy cohesion and independence. REPowerEU has established the pathway with specific tools and policy measures. The drawing of sustainability priorities into the forefront of security and competitiveness agendas is a hugely symbolic moment for the formation and prevailing landscape of EU energy policy. In contemporary history, all three aspects have characterized an interconnected but broadly independent trifecta of policy aims, with each given priority at different points in time. As Executive Director of the International Energy Agency, Fatih Birol recently asserted during the State of the Union, since this February, we are in a new energy world and there's no way back. The sustainability agenda is now the security agenda and the competitiveness agenda with cheap and reliable, largely domestic renewable electricity at the foundation. Let's see the key points of REPowerEU as a response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. REPowerEU maps out the policy measures to wean Europe of its dependence on Russian fossil fuels as soon as possible. The headline proposals are boosting energy efficiency, increasing the target in the Energy Efficiency Directive from 9% to 13% by 2030, accelerating renewables deployment, increasing the 2030 renewable energy from 40% to 45%, and speeding up permitting, diversifying energy supplies and joining forces via voluntary common purchases of gas, LNG, and hydrogen, accelerating biomethane and biogas production, unlocking financing, notably using the Recovery and Resilience Facility. Guidelines on short-term measures to deal with high energy prices and initial proposals on structural energy market reforms as windfall profits taxation and current limit for the gas price. The Commission foresees considerable challenges associated with such ambitions under such a timescale. And here we will take a brief walkthrough, 3 key structural challenges in place and what measures are targeted at alleviating those bottlenecks. These challenges are permitting, critical raw materials, and the workforce. So we see that in order to address all these issues, we need to upgrade as a country our clean energy targets, almost doubling our investments in renewables and accelerating our investments in interconnections and large-scale energy storage. I would like here to show an overview of what our country is doing until 2030 and from 2030 onwards in order to achieve all these targets. First, our country is expected to reach approximately 27 to 30 gigawatt of renewable and storage by 2030. Additionally, we expect 10 gigawatt of recent storage until 2040, reaching a total installed capacity of 40 gigawatt. Until 2030, we expect an even more favorable regulatory framework underpinned by energy account surplus. And on the road to 2030 and 2050, we expect the electricity demand to increase significantly due to electrification and green hydrogen. Until 2030, we expect to finalize the framework for offshore wind. This is expected in the next few days in order to develop approximately 2 gigawatt by 2030 and a much more a further development to 2040 and 2050. There is also for 2030 an ambitious program run by system and network operators for new interconnection with neighboring countries, interconnection of islands, and upgrading all the electricity network. Furthermore, Greece has to become an electricity hub in Southeast Europe, a much more strong electricity hub. The new framework for the development of storage has started to be formulated with the first phase of production license in the new law. And we expect the next acts for the participation of storage in the markets, hydropump and battery. 5 gigawatt are expected by 2030 and 7.5 by 2040. This is a graphic overview.
Can you hear me? We
Yes.
have only 2 minutes. We have to wrap it up. Now,
Yeah.
can you please tell us what Terna Energy is actually doing? What are the priorities for Terna Energy within the framework which you have described, please?
Yes, of course. Just let me see how. I think that you were not looking into my screen. I didn't share it. No problem. Well, Terna Energy has established a large target for storage through the pumped hydro plant of Amphilohia, 680 megawatt, and the hybrid station in Crete, Amari, 153 megawatt. Many years now, we have invested in storage because we believe it that renewables and storage are the only way to further penetrate renewables in our country. We have also invested in other actions as waste management, and we are also participating in some pilot hydrogen projects. And we have also invested a lot in a market tool, in successful market participation in target model markets through our RES aggregator, Optimus Energy, because we believe that digitalization and proper tools can give a successful market participation, overcoming the obstacles that give us the high prices at the end of the day.
Okay. Thank you very much. Incidentally, we didn't see the screen.
Yes,
So,
I know,
but
I
you
know.
can send this to us, and we can use this in the microsite, which we're going to include all the presentations for the conference. Thank you very much. Now we go to our last panelist, Mr. Zissimos Mandas. Mr. Mandas has recently taken over the renewables branch of Motor Oil. Motor Oil is one of the big industrial refining businesses in Greece. And lately, over the last 3-4 years, they have been moving into renewables. So you'll tell us all about it.
Dear Mr. Stambolis, distinguished guests and participants in this very interesting conference held in Thessaloniki, I'm very proud and glad to be presenting here. It's the first presentation, open presentation to all, of MORE. MORE is a motor oil company. Motor Oil Hellas is one of the largest privately owned companies with activated into the refinery, oil and gas business, lubricants, and also having a very strong and extensive retail business into Greece, West Balkans, and Cyprus. Now we are making our first move, and this is the first day that we are presenting MORE, our subsidy, 100% subsidy, which is closely focusing and investing strongly into renewable energy business. So MORE, this is MORE. I'm Zissimos Mantas. I'm heading the Project Development and Licensing Department, and I will be glad to show you our activity so far, but also trying to give you a few points with regards to our today's presentation and session regarding the large renewable energy penetration and the impact and the disruption this brings to the networks and the solutions to be brought into the market in the coming short future. So, in a nutshell, we are operating a portfolio of renewable energy assets reaching 280 megawatts. This ranks us up to 5th position with regards to the Greek energy market. We have quite a wind portfolio, I may say, with operating 13 wind farms, reaching 230 megawatts of wind, plus 74 megawatts of solar PV. Further on, we are operating 5 substations and high voltage to medium voltage ones. We have a large portfolio, quite balanced one, under development, 550 megawatts of wind, plus 360 megawatts of solar, of battery energy storage systems. Of course, we have also a very ambitious plan into the next 12 months to construct 84 megawatts more to add in our portfolio. These have been comprised by 3 wind farms installed all over Greece. There is a map of Greece with the operating assets, plus the map of Greece with regards to our projects under development. You may see they are quite scattered, strategically scattered throughout the Greek territory. We are, as of the end of 2021, and the figures have significantly changed. We are having 50 people working for us. We have an operating total assets of 680 million euros and an EBITDA of 45 million. I would give you a brief intro with regards to the recently announced acquisition that took place just 1 month ago. The projects in operation are reaching almost 500 megawatts. They are comprised mostly by wind energy projects, 490 megawatts, approximately, 2 megawatts of solar PV, and 5 megawatts of a small hydro. We are operating 10 plus 10 substations, and we have quite an extensive pipeline of projects under development reaching 1.5 giga, mostly focusing in wind, but also a significant pipeline with regards to battery energy storage systems. Before moving to the next slide, I would try to give you a brief description of what is the current status with regards to the Greek energy market, and to take the point after Mr. Tirish left with regards to the congestion faced by the grid so far and the challenges that the grid operators are facing with regards to tackling with this bulk renewable energy penetration into the grid. In all, okay, there are figures. What is important for you to keep is that we are operating in Greece 9.5 gigas of renewables so far, mostly wind, but also solar PV are of equal share. But we also have applied already applications made to the grid operator, to IPTO, of 20 gigas. These figures are up to March, April, just a few months ago. So this means that the Greek interconnected system, if all these projects are being installed, then we are suffering from a severe grid congestion situation. All of our interconnected mainland grid, and I'm including also Crete, which is recently being connected to Peloponnese, there are congestion in the 150 kV lines. I haven't made this in the illustration for the 400 ultra high voltage lines because this is another story I wouldn't like to take further steps into. So this means that the bulk penetration of renewables, or the future penetration of renewables, is causing congestion to the grid, and there have to be some solutions, and of course technology improvements and new applications and services to be provided in order for us to accommodate such large penetration, and of course to provide sustainable and competitive prices into electricity to the end consumer. Just to recap, is that network congestion is here and will be here in the coming at least 12 months. This is mostly focusing into local congestions, but also with regards to regional congestions. There was a very illustrative map shown by Mr. Kabouris just before, indicating the areas of congestion, either locally or internationally, that these areas have to be taken into consideration very much. The large penetration of renewables has also a severe impact onto electricity prices. There are examples faced already also in Greece back in February 2022 that we reached zero or next to zero prices, electricity prices per hour. This is also a thing that we have all to be taken into consideration. And of course, all the radical changes that already happened to our daily profile, daily consumption profile, and daily production, of course, profile, with regards to solar PV actually substituting the noon peak hours. And peak hours just shifted to be covered by all the other production during the night. So this has also significant impact, and seasonality plays a role here. The renewables, of course, do have an impact, and of course the water reserves that have to be operated by the major players with regards to this electricity generation source. Last but not least, interconnections are of essence. I wouldn't like to go further into that. Greece has limited interconnections with regards to its neighbors, but we have quite an extensive plan to make all these, to upgrade them in the coming future. So, solutions. We're here to discuss about solutions. MORE is eager to play a role into these solutions. You have already saw that we are developing battery energy storage plants, but of course, large renewable energy penetration requires large storage. Large storage can be provided with pumped hydro. Mrs. Zacharia was quite eloquent to that. I will go further into investigating the importance of the investment into the grids and the grid infrastructure. This has to do with local investments, reinforcing the grid into particular points that the grid is suffering from either congestion or it has limited capacity, but of course regionally and internationally. You saw our articles with regards to Greece connecting with Egypt or Southeast or a Eurasia interconnector, which are investments that has to be realized in order for Greece to become an energy and electricity hub in the Southeast Europe. Of course, we are heavily involved and investing into the battery energy storage systems because we feel that, first of all, renewables, due to the fact that they're intermittent and of large penetration, must be firmed and, of course, smoothed within their intraday profile of production, and, of course, arbitrage and all this stuff. Second of all, fast response to support the grid. There were a couple of slides already by the previous speakers indicating the fact that ancillary services, fast frequency response would be of essence when we are gradually and radically moving into larger and higher renewable energy penetration. And last but not least, decongestion services that the batteries could only play due to the fact that they are of very short response. They can respond within milliseconds in order to provide electricity or even absorb electricity while the grid is suffering from a radical or a very high congestion situation. Of course, there are further tools to be employed, and the Greek government is making a few moves with regards to focused electricity, focused energy curtailments with regards to the operating assets, renewable energy assets. There will be focused curtailments in order to also assist the grid operator into lessening the impact of high renewable energy penetration into particular bottlenecks, into particular regional hotspots. But of course, these have to be made through a tailor-made and rather focused interventions, not with flat measures applying to all with the same, let's say, percentage of curtailment. Last but not least, demand-side management is also something that the Greek state and, of course, the retail providers have to pay attention to. Shaping the demand side dynamically while the electricity prices are skyrocketing, for example, in the afternoon, in the late noon, would be also of essence. First of all, to end consumers, but of course to industrial consumers that cannot be facing large electricity bills with regards to their production. Yeah, it's one more slide. These are pictures what the batteries can do, but I wouldn't like to spend time on it. We are focusing on more clear energy. This is our first debut into the energy business, and this is the first logo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mantas, for a very concise and on-the-point presentation. And thank you all panelists for sticking on to time, so we managed to finish on time. As a reward, one question which we discussed. We saw very clearly from the last presentation of Mr. Mantas the challenges that the producers are facing. Until now, there's not much interest, we don't have enough funds, we cannot move forward. But now we have the reverse situation. We have big companies like Turner, like Motor Oil saying, look, we have the money, we have the people, we can do the investment, but we are curtailed. And we are curtailed, as you rightly said, with congestion, with the networks. So it looks to me that we're going back to the networks and the opening up, further development, and clever tools to be used in the network to manage them could perhaps be the key. Not so much storage as the networks. Do you agree with that, John? Can you comment on this?
Yeah, I want to comment on that, to say that now renewables is not a marginal source, is the main player. We have to recognize that developing dispersed generation, the role of transmission is eliminated.
Right.
Some 20 years ago, we faced something to the situation to transport something in Greece, 10, 11 megawatts. Now we never exceed
That's all the
7, 8.
problem.
Yeah, okay. That's one thing. The other thing is that, of course, we cannot duplicate the networks. So, to my personal opinion, I think that new innovative solution that also a new regulation calls for, which is to curtail, in a way, I think it's a very good solution, because that happened already with the thermal power for many decades. And also, according to my personal calculations, but I do believe them, if we go to something like 4 or 5% of curtailment, then we can at least double the installations that we can accept in the network.
When you say curtail of what? The rate of increase?
No, in some cases, TSOs are very conservative organizations because 1 hour blackout has a very large impact. So the rules were, to my opinion, very, very strict. So in case that the TSOs see that in some snapshot that may of duration of some minutes, the network cannot cope with they say, okay, we cannot connect you. Okay. I think it was too much. Now I think really that in the current situation, we can double at least the installations, especially for transmission.
Okay.
If we accept that. The problem is in the distribution.
What would be your main message right now to the market? To companies like
I would say that,
Terna,
I would say
develop.
go on and don't account for this small part that you may lose. This is not the future. The future is that renewables will be the great player, will be the main player, will be the new machine that will...
Yes, but from an investor's point of view, where should they put the emphasis on?
I think to fast-growing new installations, especially storage, in order to help.
But my question is the electricity grid in Greece and perhaps in other countries ready to facilitate and to host this new capacity, which is coming in very fast?
Sorry, can
Yes,
I add
obviously.
a question, another question to your comment or question? So, as far as I know, in Greece, there is a capacity around 18 gigawatt, more or less, installed capacity, or a little bit more than this because it is growing. So, I know that you have got in this country more or less 90 gigawatt of new license applications.
Correct.
Or more than this. So, I got the information from the last speaker that 20 gigawatt of them are having some green light, something.
Right.
So it means that it is going to be doubled.
Right.
So in combination with your question, how will you solve this problem in order to increase this gap? Mostly it is going to come from solar energy, a little bit wind power as well. So there is a problem. There could be a problem. And the PPA issues, how are you going to solve this PPA? Okay. First, for the first comers, there is no problem. But after the saturation level, so are you going to sell this electricity to another country or store this electricity? And I know the infrastructure and transformer stations and everything is not enough in this country. So how will you solve all these problems? Okay.
My personal opinion, and to make the story short, because it's quite a long story, I think that what we are doing in Europe helps. Now we are preparing in order to increase the exchanges, so we have the possibility to exchange energy and exploit the diversities. For example, when the wind blows in the north, maybe we have no power here and so on. We have also time difference that we can exploit. Also, we can go further to the east in order to exploit these diversities in time. But my personal feeling is that since we go to a renewable and we say 100% on, I don't know, 70% clean energy by renewables, should be more optimistic and try to do the big picture. And the big picture is that wherever we put installations for renewables, we of course can take care of the network in order to have these possibilities. Also have to put storage, which is very, very much important. And I think all these things will go in parallel. And also, I think that producers, the potential producers, could accept some small curtailment. This happened anyhow in the past for the big thermal power plants and so on. And this is not the crucial issue for them financially, because renewables will be, it's very, very clear, the cheapest energy. So they have a lot of possibilities to survive. Of course, we cannot go to 50 gigawatts in Greece, yeah? But I think the market itself will lead to the equilibrium that is acceptable for the producers.
So thank you very much all for your participation. Very useful presentations, really clearly defined messages. And I think this has enlightened us in many aspects. And again, thank you to the audience for the participation. And hopefully next year we'll be here together to see what's has been happening in the meanwhile. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.